This place reminds me of Santa's workshop.
Well, ain't this place a geographical oddity?
I'll tell you, mate, if every town in the world were like this one, no man would ever feel unwanted.
Travel oddities.
Odd spot.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Odd Spots by the Travel Oddities podcast. Tonight we're going to be talking about St Omer Cemetery Witch Grave in Ashmore, Illinois. I'm Harley, and joining me this evening is Brett Manzer.
Grumpy Pants Manzer tonight.
Grumpy Pants.
Yeah.
This is a pretty interesting little spot.
But
What?
we've had our own experience with something similar to this.
A little spook in the graveyard?
Well, I mean, the witch in the graveyard thing is not something uncommon.
I would say new.
I mean, just get into it. Let's just get into it, and then we'll cuss and discuss, and we'll do comparison and contrast to our little piss pants episode that we had.
Alrighty, so Omer Cemetery and the small defunct village of the same name probably would have been forgotten completely over a century ago had it not been for one very unusual family monument and a misprinted date.
See, that's how it starts.
These peculiar circumstances gave birth to an obscure but enduring legend in Coles County, Illinois. According to local lore, Carolyn Barnes, one of the 4 people buried under a massive stone, was put to death for practicing witchcraft.
So, again,
Witchcraft.
You've seen it. You've seen the shows.
Hey, when she died, she was like 23, which would put her probably in the same age range as the girls in the movie The Craft.
Yes.
So she could have been smoking hot. I'm just saying.
Yes. Who knows?
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all about a 23-year-old that's dead.
It said that you can't take pictures of the monument and that it glows on moonless nights, according to local legend. And the local citizens claim that the tombstone is impossible to photograph because of individuals showing up in the photographs that weren't originally there.
So phantom photo bombers, glowing orbs, glowing tombstones. Again, we've had a similar situation. They all kind of sound the same.
I think they kind of tie together. I don't know if they sound the same. I would say that we should strike that from the record.
Why?
Because we do frequent shows about these places and saying they all sound the same.
Well, no, I
you
guess you're
listen
right,
to one
right,
episode,
right.
you listen to all of them?
No, I'm just saying.
That sounds like something that Amy would throw out at us right after she told us that Star Trek sucked.
Well, that's true, but also we do a lot of shows. We do a lot of paranormal shows. I mean, so, drawing the parallels is an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of similar body to them.
I mean, and when your head writer is not fond of the cryptids, you do a lot of witches. A lot of witches, a lot
of witches' graves, yeah.
There are a lot of stuff involving dead women. So we do a lot of paranormal, like, PSAs about not, abusing the dead women. Verbally or metaphysically.
Back to our Omer Cemetery.
Yeah. Omar or Omer?
Omer. One story says some friends were out at the cemetery just taking general pictures of everything, and when they took a picture of one of the bigger tombstones, it looked like a man was in the background wearing a derby hat.
Now, you've seen Phantom Legs.
I have.
What are the chances that he was wearing a derby hat, perhaps? Oh.
At the Crescent Hotel.
You have a key
to the Crescent Hotel. It's definitely weird. The Barnes family monument is apparently really difficult to describe. Some say it looks like a crystal ball on top of a pyre. Conventionally, orbs in cemetery art represent faith, and logs and tree trunks are fairly commonly representing growth and enduring life. This particular gravestone is rare, but similar monuments can be found in several central Illinois cemeteries, including Union Cemetery in northeastern Coles County. To get to the meat of this particular location, why do people think there's a witch buried here? There are a couple of really good reasons. First and foremost, all of the graves in the cemetery are facing east-west.
And that's typical.
But
because of the way the sun, the whole sun rises and sets. And
this particular grave is faced the opposite way, north-south.
Now, could it have been, I'm not saying that an unidentified body doesn't get the same respect as John and Joan Q. Citizen? Could they have just been digging a hole?
There are some conclusions later on, and I get it, but at the same time, I think I like the story without the critiques.
I like the story without the critiques, but let's be technical and say, maybe they might be assholes and elbows in there, and that might be the only little plot they could get.
It's a possibility. I haven't personally been, so
if I can get a discount on the northwest or the north-south, if it's a couple $100 cheaper than the east-west, I'll take it. I want to be the next cemetery legend.
Well, there's one bit of evidence that I haven't gotten to yet.
Okay.
The date on her gravestone. She died on February 31st.
Oh, and there isn't 31 days in February.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
That's, occasionally you get an extra day in February for leap year, but
when I first read it, it took me a second. I was like, what's wrong with February 31st? Oh, okay. Yeah, now I remember now. Because there's a little ditty about the 31 days and about 30, you know what I'm talking about, that tells you basically that February only has 30 days. And that's the only reason why I remember it. Otherwise, I would still think there's 31 days in February, but
it's 28 days.
28 days. I'm sorry. See?
You're way off. But with it being the 31 days of October, what better example of a gravestone to use than one that has a 31st day of a month that doesn't have a 31st day?
But let's be realistic. As guys, just off the subject, we are programmed to remember one day in February, and that is it.
My birthday. Yes, it's February 16th.
But Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah, that always infringes
I don't think
upon.
when I think of witches, I don't think of February. But now I do.
Now, again, a lot of this can be explained away if you want to do so.
If you want to poo-poo on it.
You can explain a lot of this without moving to the supernatural. Being that it's a really large monument, it seems likely that if a mistake had been made on the date, that it would have been too costly to fix. That could be a reason why it's...
Yeah, that's realistic.
I mean, it's possible.
Mm-hmm. And then why change it? I mean, why?
Or we could be talking parallel universes here, where there are 31 days in February and only 28 days in March.
That's true.
So, again, you can go one way or you can go the other. As for the reaction of the locals, vandalism as a result of the legend has been a very real and present danger. The cemetery trustees have had to hoist the stone upright several times after vandals knocked it down, and it is possible that at one point in time this stone was facing the same direction as all the other stones, and they just picked it up and put it down wrong.
I think, surprisingly, it hasn't been stolen. You know what I mean? Where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, we've visited cemeteries where stones have been stolen repeatedly, but they're obviously not a monument style. I mean, it'd be hard to hide this one.
Yeah, it's covering up 4 bodies, so it's big.
It's big, yeah.
Historically, the fate of the family buried under the monument is a little bit of a mystery. According to local historian Carolyn Stevens, Marcus Barnes, Carolyn's husband, is said to have died in a sawmill accident in December of 1881. And then Caroline, only 23 years old at the time, died 2 months later of pneumonia on either February 26th or the 28th, depending on which document is consulted. So, again, you can use that date to dismiss this whole thing. Somebody misprinted something. But when none of the documents or the tombstone match up, I say that's a rush job.
Yeah,
and
I would say so.
You have a rush job when you're burying a damn witch.
Or somebody that you may think that's contagious with some type of disease, yeah.
Or she's killing the livestock with her evil ways.
She's a witchy woman.
I'm just saying.
Black magic woman.
In the late 1800s.
But, dude, we could stub our toe in the late 1800s and die from a blood infection. I mean...
You can do that now.
You can still do that now. Thanks to our healthcare, non-healthcare reform, yes.
Now, local legend has it that they tried to kill Caroline by hanging her, but they didn't kill her. So then they buried her alive, and when they went back to see if she was dead, she was gone.
I think you do like they did on Monty Python and dress her up like a duck, and if she floats, if she floats, she's a witch, or if she sinks, she's a witch. I prefer my witches well hung. Sorry. Hashtag Salem. But yeah.
So, aside from the alleged witch's grave, one of the most interesting aspects of the location was the presence of a small village just to the south of the cemetery. The village, also named St Omer, has been defunct for over 100 years, and any remains aside from a few square fields of grass and some old fence posts have been completely obscured over time. But according to the history of Coles County, the village was a collection of around 6 houses, a store, post office, and a blacksmith shop. But the Coles County map and tour guide says that 40 to 50 families once lived there.
Question.
Yes.
If you could pick up a trade, this is random. Of course, that's what I do. In the 1800s, blacksmith, man.
I think blacksmith's got to be like
Top of the list.
The like heavy metal guitarist
Right. You're
of
like,
the 1800s.
Like all the chicks want to bang the blacksmith.
I would think
or
so.
a bandit. You know? I don't know if the sheriff's getting much play.
I don't think so.
Because he's kind of the party pooper. But, yeah, blacksmith for me totally. Sorry. I'm just thinking of, like, dream jobs of the 1800s.
St. Omer apparently disappeared in the 1880s around the same time both Caroline and Marcus Barnes died. The community of Heightsville, formerly located a few miles southeast of Ashmore, suffered a similar fate. Families living in those two villages packed up and moved to Ashmore when the railroad came in.
Really?
Yes.
Did they see it as a bad... I mean...
No, when the railroad came into Ashmore,
okay,
they moved
gotcha.
there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Better opportunity.
Yeah. It's kind of like when GM comes to town, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm just saying similar, right?
I would agree.
Yeah.
In 1893, a schoolhouse and Presbyterian church still stood in the Barnes family land, but nothing remains today of either buildings. The church burned down in the 1950s, and there is no historical or documentary evidence supporting the notion that Caroline Barnes was accused of witchcraft, let alone put to death for it. But again, I'm personally of the opinion...
Tulpa.
It's a possibility. It's a possibility that it's a tulpa, but I'm personally of the opinion that you're not going to write that shit down. You're not going to say,
because you're just...
we burned a witch.
and buried her here.
Right. You're not going to do that.
I mean, you're begging them to have to, like, pour 100 freaking gallons of concrete on the body or something to keep you from digging it up.
Right. You put in the official documents that she died of pneumonia.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people died of pneumonia.
Oh, yeah, back then?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's...
23 was... Been thinking about it, too. 23 is kind of old back then. I mean, you survived some yellow fever and some scarlet fever and some exposure. What is... Not exposure. It's exposure.
Consumption.
Consumption. So, yeah. She could have died of a number of things.
Right.
I'm not poo-pooing it. That's not me poo-pooing it. I'm just saying, witches get sick, too. They don't put enough eye of newt and ass of frog in their potion, they could die.
Ass of frog. But again, I think Caroline Burns and her family's unique monument have inadvertently kept the memory and perhaps the cemetery itself alive for pretty much forever. I mean, you're always going to have people who are interested and going to want to go look at things like that.
And we're fans of cemeteries, and one of us in particular probably gets a little chilly in the summer. If you know what I mean? When it comes to cemeteries. So yeah, I like a cool cemetery story, man.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm down.
I like stumbling through the dark with a flashlight.
And again, whether it's a tulpa or whether it's an actual haunting, either way, I'll take it. I'll take the spooky experience in the cemetery in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. Just don't go out there and leave your old condoms and empty beer cans out there, guys and gals.
So tell us what you think. Which should we burn her? Or is this a tulpa? Or is this just a clerical error? Give us a call on the odd line, 786-5-ODDITY or 786-563-3489.
Hey, if you ask me, I like a bad girl. I like them bad. I want them to cast a spell on me. Give it to me, baby. Sorry.
Yep. Check us out on all the social medias, etc., etc.
It's an odd spot. This has been 31 Days of October. I'm Brett.
I am Harley.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Peace.
When that sun breaks out, lift up your head and shout, it's gonna be a great day.
Kellogg's waits for you, that spirit comes shining through, promising you a great day. How could you think of starting this bright new morning without your K-double-L? Oh, it's double
Kellogg's has been making great days for more people for more years with more cereals than anyone. Corn Flakes, Rice Krispies, Frosted Flakes, Product 19. Trust your mornings to Kellogg's.
Very best part of start. Your right to morning is Kellogg's way. It's not far away. Kellogg's will help you say there's gonna be a great. We're gonna see a great. It's gonna be a great day.
I feel good in a special way. Give me a mic check, Brett. I would like for you to check your mics. Check them out. See if you have mics. Check, 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 check. Thanks for listening to the Travel Oddities.
What's 31 Days of October, man? Come
I
on.
don't know the best way to label it. It's an odd spot.